guys, it's Michaela, and you're watching Fun Size Style. I have not filmed in a really long time. I was not expecting to go on a hiatus from YouTube, but except for the end of the first week of December, beginning of second week, I had finals for school. And the last week and a half of classes are just crazy. I pretty much connect from social media, work my butt off, because I mentioned this a few times, but the way my school works, semester is only 7 weeks, so we're expected to do the same amount of work in a 14-week class in 7 weeks. By the end of, the last week, or like second to last week, is pretty crazy. I was not expecting to take a hiatus, but as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, my world was completely shattered several weeks ago. Well, a few weeks ago. My soul sister, Pippi, passed away. We only ever filmed like one video together when she first moved up here where I live. We actually filmed a second video last summer, July 2020, and the footage, we tried filming it outside and it was garbage. It was loud. The footage is just not good quality, so I never uploaded it. We had plans that when I healed up from my back surgery that I would go out, because last summer she moved to Minnesota to be in a bigger area, try something new in her life. She was a very adventurous person and just lived for every day and loved to travel, and she really loved it out there. She came back several times since she moved there. In fact, I am so glad, because I never thought that our time together Earthside would ever be cut short. A lot of times when people move away out of state, they say, I'll come back to visit, but they don't. But Pippi, I'm gonna call her Pip, because that's just what I call her. Pip was a woman of her word, and she was there for me always. The same for me, I was there for her always, and she kept that promise. During that year was when I had my halo and my spinal fusion, and she was there for it all and came back so many times to visit every couple of months, and we FaceTimed really every week, texted every single day. I just don't know how else to start this video. So I know that my YouTube audience may not know a lot about her, because like I said, we'd never got the chance to film a lot of videos together like we wanted to. The only video you guys know is Chubby Bunny Challenge, and first filmed that when she moved up here where I live in 2018, and then she was here until July of 2020 is when she moved to Minnesota. She is originally from Michigan. Her family lives here in Michigan. Those of you that have watched my videos do know of her, I think, because especially during my Halo journey, I talked a lot about her, because she is like the biggest part of my life, and she gave me the surprise of a lifetime when I was going through a really hard time. And whenever I was going through the most difficult time, no matter how far away she was, she would just show up, and she always made time for me. She always made time for me. I always made time for her. We made time for each other, and I just can't believe I'm talking about her in the past tense. And I don't like talking about her in the past tense. In fact, a lot of people have noticed I don't, on Instagram, I don't share she was an incredible person or she still is, and I say that she is because I know that she is with me always, and the absolute best guardian angel that I have in heaven. I may not be able to see her, I may not be able to hear her voice, but she can see me and she can hear me, and I have full faith in that. Those of you who don't know her, I wanted to share a little bit about her story, and everything that I'm sharing with you is public knowledge. It's things that Pip has shared. For reference, Pip was only 22 years old. She had so much life to live. Pip was born in Sofia, Bulgaria. She was immediately put into an orphanage. People with disabilities in Bulgaria are considered a burden. They're considered an embarrassment, burden on society, and nothing but an inconvenience. And so she spent the first 4 years of her life in an orphanage, a bed that looked like a cage. She was underfed, undernourished. She wasn't allowed to play with toys. She also had osteogenesis imperfecta. I didn't say that, but again, I just assume that most of you know who I'm talking about, but she also had osteogenesis imperfecta. Obviously, that was her disability and why she was placed in the orphanage. And there are a lot of challenges that come with abandonment in the first moments of your life, and that presents itself with a whole slew of challenges that follow you for the rest of your life. Her mom, who adopted her, was our physical therapist, and I was 2 years old, 1 year old, 1 or 2 years old, and I think I had 2 or 3 maybe. I'm not really sure. Babe, she really bonded with her family, said that she wanted to adopt children with OI one day. My mom, this was obviously before social media, my mom was on a listserv thread for OI, and it's a way for people with OI to communicate, and there was a thread on there that there were 2 children in Bulgaria that needed to be adopted, and so she told our physical therapist about these 2 children and adopted them both. Just a really great family, and they're a part of our life since I was 5 and Pip was 4. Pip and I are a year and a half apart. She was 4 when she came here to the United States, and I was 5. We went to the National Institute of Health together, and they didn't live super close to us at all, so we would only see them a few times a year, but they have been a constant in our life. And when you are, adopted from an orphanage, there are a lot of challenges that follow you for the rest of your life. And there were a lot of challenges that Pip had, and she worked so hard to overcome so many of them. But there were still so many things that she struggled with, and on a daily basis, because we forget as a society how important love and attention is from the moment that you're born, literally from the moment that you're born. And so Pip faced so many challenges that you guys wouldn't even begin to imagine, but she plowed through them like an absolute warrior, and she did so much in her short time here on earth, and she was a constant in my life. It has been an absolute privilege to watch her grow up into an amazing independent young woman, to see how she first started when we were younger up until current years. She just blossomed. I have known Pip for, I was 5, so I've known Pip for 18 years of my life. She was a part of my childhood, and but we really built a sister bond in 2018 when she came to live with us for a little while she waited for an apartment up here to open up, and that's when you guys first saw her on my channel. We just decided to do a silly video, and she lived with us. I shared my bedroom with her for a month. I don't have a lot of space to share, but I shared what I had, and we built the closest bond. And she lived up here in our town for, like I said, until the middle of 2020, until she moved to Minnesota. And it was really, really hard for me to have her move away, because I don't have a lot of friends here at all, none pretty much. And so when she moved up here, it was awesome, because out of all the years of my life, I finally had someone to hang with. And not only did we have that connection, but also the obvious connection in that we both have osteogenesis imperfecta. And so we have that close-knit bond as well, knowing the challenges of just the disability itself that come with that. Obviously, I didn't grow up in a different country in an orphanage, but we bonded, over OI and the challenges just in itself that come with that. And so there's a special bond that comes with that. And then obviously, like, living together, we built a sister bond. And you guys know, like, I obviously have an awesome twin brother who I am, like, this with. Like, we are so close. I obviously never had a sister growing up, and so Pip was, like, the sister that I always prayed for growing up, and like, sister figure that I wanted to come into my life. There is just something so special and different than with a sister bond than there is, like, a twin brother bond, and vice versa. Like, Pip and I didn't have the bond that my twin brother Austin and I share. Like, so the fact that I somewhat got to experience both is, like, such a blessing. So when I say that my sister passed away, like, we are not related by blood, but that doesn't matter. Like, we are sisters, and she told everyone that I am her sister, and I would tell everyone that she's my sister, and everyone just always said we're like sisters, and we look a lot alike too. In 2018, when she came to live with us, we just bonded like this, like, so close. We did everything together. We, you know, she lived with us, and she even came to my leg surgery that I had, and have her there during the most difficult time. Actually, it was that surgery for the first time ever that, like, I didn't have any anxiety, like, just because we're having such a great time, like, in pre-op, like, I really wasn't worried about a thing, and she, like, was there and made it so much fun. Like from that on, like, I've literally never had anxiety since, like, with the surgery, and just, like, she made it so much fun, and not too many people say that they have someone in their life like that would literally come to, like, a surgery with you. Like, she was there for the best moments of my life and the worst moments of my life. And in 2018 was when the conversation of my back surgery first started coming up, and the bombshell went off. And so she was there on that day that I found out what was happening, and so she's been with me through this whole journey, and she spent Christmas Eve with us, Christmas Day. It was truly the best Christmas I've ever had. Christmases have, because she spent Christmas 2019 with us too. In 2020, I was in the hospital. I didn't spend it with anybody. Obviously, like, spent my birthday and Thanksgiving together. Like, she's my sister. Like, we did everything together, and next to my parents and my twin brother Austin, like, there's literally nobody on this earth that knows me better than she does. I feel like this video isn't even going, like, the order that I really imagined kind of sharing, but it's like, what do you even say? Like, I never imagined filming this video. I feel like there really isn't a lot of information out there about, or, like, awareness about what it's like to go through the loss of a sibling. Again, obviously, like, we weren't blood related like DNA, but that was the relationship that we had. Like, she's my sister. Like, there's not a lot of, I feel like, resources about sibling loss, and she literally was my better half. And there's nothing like a sibling bond, like a sister bond. Like, there's no words to describe how special it is. There's truly no words. And, like, one of those many things that was so special about her is that she always, like, even after she moved away, like, she always showed up for me when I needed her the most. Like, when I was struggling really bad and my halo, and just having, because as the months went by, like, it got harder, and as the weeks went by, and so she flew up here to surprise me. And then after I got home from the hospital for my spinal fusion, like, she flew back up here and came again in June, and then came again in September. Like, she came, like, so, like, frequently, and obviously not as frequently as I would have liked, but for someone who moved away, it was a lot. And to know that I will have to go through the rest of my life, she won't be able to just physically show up, I just can't imagine it. I think that I know that I'm still in the denial phase. I mean, obviously I know she's gone physically, but I'm in the denial phase, and, like, I just can't believe it. So, a little backstory on my own personal experience with loss. I come from an older family. My parents are the youngest of many siblings on each side. By the time my parents came along, a lot of their relatives are older. By the time I came along, a lot of my relatives are older. I've experienced a lot of loss in my life, but I've never lost anyone that like I've had to like really like cope with their death. I don't mean that in a bad way, like not that I'm not sad, but it's just like, someone that's been like someone that's a part of my everyday life and really like knows me well, that I have a deep connection with. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like I don't want to seem like I don't care. Like obviously it's horrible and it's tragic, like when anyone dies, but like just to have like someone that close, like Pip's death is like the equivalent of like if something happened to Austin or my parents. Like that's how close like we are. Like she was basically my immediate family. Like I have never lost anyone so close to me. Like her death would be like, is like something happened to Austin or my parents. That's how deeply her death has affected me. I've never had to cope with death or grief on such a huge level in my whole life. Like when I found out that she died, like it literally feels like a piece of me died, and I know that will never change. Like we were that close, and we ended every visit, every phone call, every FaceTime with, "I love you, sister." Like that's how we ended every single one, and I'm so grateful for that, because a lot of times when people lose someone, they have this instant regret of like, I wish we would have talked more, I wish we would have communicated more. Like even if it was something as quick or as simple as like an Instagram DM or a quick text or like commenting on each other's photo, like we communicated in some way every single day. Like even when she moved away, like that never changed. Through like the pandemic, we did like virtual lunch dates, and like, I've never felt grief and pain on this level in my life. And honestly, like I am just cried out. Like I was I couldn't film this video until after her memorial, because I think I've literally run out of tears. I have never felt grief and pain on this level in my life. This tops every bit of physical pain that I have felt the whole year. Like without a doubt, to lose someone that is your better half is like the worst thing imaginable to go through, and I'm new to this grieving process. And with that, I feel like there's not a lot of resources out there on what it's like to go through a sibling loss. To any of you that have lost a sibling, I'm sorry, because this is absolutely awful. Something that I would not wish on anyone in the world. I just can't believe it. She is my everything. She meant the world to me, and we did everything together, and she was there at my best and at my worst. The fact that like I will never get to celebrate another one of my birthdays with her is just... Christmas was really hard this year because we spent Christmases together, and she died 11 days before Christmas. To be honest, I've never felt less Christmassy in my life because of my own physical stuff that's been going on, which I'll update you guys in upcoming videos, that took away a lot of my Christmas spirit, which I feel really bad about, because it's like literally celebrating the birth of our Savior, and like it's because of him that I will get to be reunited with her one day, and what an amazing day that will be. She is such a gift to my life. Like there's literally no one in the world that could make me laugh as much as she could. There's literally like I would just light up, and like the best days of my life were with her. Like she was a part of the biggest moments of my life, and I know that she will continue to be, just in a new way. What's really interesting about grief, especially with a loss this big, like there just aren't words to describe it. It physically hurts so bad, and I've never known a hurt like this. And even though I have the hope of Christ, like, and that's what's so hard, is like knowing God. Like I know she's in heaven, and I know she would not want to come back even if she could. Like this earthly life is so temporary. It's also different, I think, when the death of someone is obviously so unexpected and the person is so young and they're not sick, and the death was not expected whatsoever. She was not sick. I had finals, so the last time we communicated was December 9th, and I told her that we communicated every single day except for finals week. I turned my phone off, and so the last time that I communicated with her in any way was December 9th, and I told her I submit my last final on December 14th. I will call you. When I called her, or I texted her to FaceTime her, and she didn't answer, and I was like, that's kind of weird. I called her, she didn't answer. That was not like her. And then what really scared me is two things. One, she didn't post on social media since the last day that I spoke to her, and then also around 12:30 a.m. I received an Instagram message from one of her friends out in Minnesota saying like, hey, me and so can't get a hold of Pip. Is she okay? Do you know if she's okay or where she is? Obviously, like, she lives out in Minnesota, so, and like, she'll go out at night and stuff. And I said like, no, but like, that immediately scared me because like, I knew she was not okay because in all my years of knowing her, A, she's the most independent person, and B, like, there's never been anyone come to me, because this girl, like, I never met her, but she saw me plastered all over Pip's Instagram, always talking about each other. She knew, like, I was super close, so she thought me of anyone would know, like, if she's okay. And the fact that I couldn't get a hold of her that night, when I told her, when I was calling her after I submitted my last final, like, I knew she wasn't okay. And I don't mean to be, like, morbid or, like, whatever, but, like, I just knew she wasn't okay, but I didn't know, like, in what capacity. I said, oh my gosh, like, this is a long story, but, like, you have to believe me, like, there is something wrong, because, like, no one ever comes to me saying, like, they can't get a hold of her, like, you need, like, this scares me, like, I just tried to call her, because I told her I would call her after my last final, and she's not answering, and that's so unlike her. Like, Pip is always connected to her phone. She said, oh my gosh, like, what should I do? That's about all I'll go into with that, but anything else like that is things that only she has entrusted me with, and I will never share. Knowing that scared me to death, and I just knew, like, based on everything that was happening, her friends reached out to me. That's never happened in all my years of knowing her. Like, I knew something really bad happened to her, and we need to do a wellness check on her. So again, like, that's where you call the police, and they will go and, like, check on the person, like, make sure they're okay. And this friend that contacted me on Instagram, oh, and by the way, like, my DMs, like, I have it on request, so, like, you have to, like, I have to, like, accept your DM request, and, like, I don't check those too often, so the fact that, like, I checked that night, like, oh my gosh, because, yeah, it's a long story, I'll get there, but, so I said, you need to do a wellness check. I'll stay on the phone with you, like, because I knew things about her that, like, she didn't know, like, and also, this was, like, late at night, it was, like, 12:30 in the morning, like, or, like, 11:30 out in Minnesota, whatever. This friend, like, lives an hour away. I live an hour away, like, I'll go check on her, and I said, like, it's late, like, are you sure? Like, because she's like, yeah, like, I don't want her to be scared out of her mind when the police show up at, like, midnight or whatever. And I was like, okay, like, that's a great idea. But I said, because she was just going to go by herself to go check on her, but I said, no, like, you're going to want to bring the police with you. These are things that I'm sharing that, like, public knowledge, but anything else, like, I'm not sharing. It is nobody's business, and I didn't realize, I mean, I guess I should have known, like, when it's an unexpected death, like, the first thing people want to know is, like, what happened, and to be honest, like, that is stuff that her family, that's nobody else's business. Like, that's stuff that they have only entrusted me with, and I'm not here to air that on social media. That is nobody's business. There is, like, it's nobody's business as to how someone dies or, like, the cause of their death. Like, that is something that only family has the right to share, and or the right to share if they want to, and they have no obligation to share that with you, especially if someone is just being nosy. I'll be honest, like, there were people, like, the OI community that were coming to me in droves saying, like, what happened? Sorry, I just did not realize that when her death was announced publicly, that I would get hundreds of messages asking what happened, and it's clearly nobody's business. 90% of these people that reached out to me asking what happened only spoke to her like one time, or like wasn't a part of her daily life. When something like this happens, do not let that be the first thing you ask someone. Unless you are incredibly close with the person and you truly don't know what happened. We did our best to contact everyone that was incredibly close to her so that they didn't find out on social media before it started flying. I didn't contact anyone, or I didn't post at all until all of our closest circle was notified, because the worst way to find out someone died, especially unexpectedly, is on social media. And it's incredibly exhausting when you're already grieving the death of your better half. Like, it's, and I know people have good intentions, but it's something that people don't talk a lot about. So I want to bring that to the forefront. Don't ever just ask someone, message someone saying, oh my gosh, how did so-and-so die? If the family didn't tell you, then they don't want to share it, and that's not for them to share. Like, she turns her hearing aids off at night, and she's 100% deaf without her hearing aids. You can bang on that door all you want, and she will not hear you. Like, even if she is okay, like, she won't hear you, and she, like, didn't know about that. I stayed on the phone with them for a little bit, and I said, like, it takes the police a while to get there. Like, you're gonna want to, like, call them about halfway there, because, like, they had an hour to drive. About halfway into their drive, she called me, and I knew it was something bad, because they were only, like, halfway there, like, maybe 45 minutes, and she was crying. The first thing she asked me is, are you alone? And I knew that she was gone. She said that when they called the police, when they confirmed who it was that we were wanting the well check done on and her address and everything, that a wellness check was done a few hours prior by her personal trainer. She had a personal fitness trainer. She missed some of her sessions, and that is so unlike her. And so he had the wellness check done on her a few hours prior, and she wasn't answering her phone, and we get like the posts on social media, and the police went in and found her deceased in her apartment. There's still things that they're trying to figure out about the cause of her death, and so we don't know. I just remember the first thing I screamed out was no, and I said, I have to call you back. I hung up the phone, and this is at like 1 in the morning our time, and I scream like for my parents. Like, I'm not scream, Mom, Dad. Like, I was so loud. Like, I didn't even know I had the ability to yell that loud, and they like run in. They literally thought I was dying, and I told them what happened. My life will never be the same. And when I FaceTimed her a few days prior, I never imagined that would be the last time that I saw her. I'm so glad that she came for my birthday week. It was our last girls' day, shopping day. Just her and I haven't been shopping since. And there's just so many things in my life that will never be the same, and I've never known a pain like this. And one thing I'm also really tired of hearing about in the grieving process, for the people who have told me that this is not true, and that is that time heals. I think it gets easier to cope, hopefully, but it doesn't heal. I think that it only gets... Right now, I am wearing Pip's sweater. It's very large and oversized. We did not wear the same size clothing. Her family was incredibly generous, and gave me a few of her belongings when I went to her funeral a few days ago. If you would have asked me 3 weeks ago that I would be attending her funeral, I would not believe you. They were incredibly generous and gave me a few of her belongings, and none of her materialistic items will ever compare to wanting her Earthside, but I will treasure these items for the rest of my life. I am sorry I've been gone for so long, but I have had to step away because I've never known pain like this. It's awful. Surgery, she sent me a text, and it was like my favorite text that she'd ever sent me. It was the most beautiful message, and I screenshotted it. And she said, when you wake up from that surgery, like, think of that girls trip that we're going to take out of state. Obviously, my recovery hasn't gone the way that we quite imagined. And so I haven't been able to travel out of state, and I got to make that trip happen. And it's just things like that that will always. When I first posted about her passing, there were a few of you that said you've gone through something similar. And I just want to say I'm sorry because it's awful. It's the worst imaginable to go through. Like, most people think my spinal fusion or, like, my halo was the worst thing to go through. Like, no, like, when something happens to yourself, it's so much more bearable than when something happens to someone you love. And someone you love so hard. Like, and there is nobody that will ever be able to replace the relationship and sister bond that we will never be someone who I'll be able to make the same memories and have the same inside jokes with than her. Nobody will ever be able. This is a void that I will have to carry for the rest of my life. It's just weird to go through talking to someone every single day of your life to never again. But one thing I'm so grateful for is that we ended every conversation with "I love you, sister." Every single one. That I am so grateful for, because that was one thing I shouted out to God and said, God, like, I hope that she knows how much I love her. And when I posted about her death, a lot of people, like her friends, who I didn't even know, like, reached out to me in droves and said that the first person they thought of when they heard of her passing was me. And that just means so much to me, that so many people knew how close we are, and the amount of people that said that they could feel our bond through our pictures is like God answered my prayer of reassuring me and, like, knowing that she knows how much I love her. And I will live every day for her, and for God, of course, but I will live every day to the fullest. I'll continue to live every day to the fullest, just like her. But this is a hurt and a void that I will have to carry for the rest of my earthly life. And I think, like, obviously death is just the beginning, like, an eternal life, but death is, like, so permanent in the fact that, like, for the people here on earth, like, it's permanent. Like, I will never get to see her again or hear her voice here on earth, and it hurts so bad. There was nobody me better than her other than my brother and my parents. Like, her death is the equivalent as if something, and, like, I just don't know how I'm doing it, and it's only through the grace of God that I am getting through every single day. And I know that Pip would want me to be strong, just like her, just like she was. She accomplished so much in this life. She worked so hard. She was so close to getting her real estate license. Like, that was her dream. She wanted to do real estate, and she was so close to getting that real estate. She loved business. She always dressed, like, so professional, and she had so many goals. I could barely keep up because her goals and dreams were always changing. And we are each other's biggest cheerleader. Like, we would always tell each other, like, how proud we are of each other. And, like, anytime one of us would have a big thing happen, like, we would FaceTime each other and, like, tell her, like, or, like, if I made the dean's list, like, I would call and tell her, like, she finished a real estate course, like, she would call and tell me. And it's just those little things that, like, are always gonna hurt, and the fact that, like, I'll never get to share those with her, and I know that she'll know from heaven, be with me, and that's honestly what keeps me going, knowing that I have the best guardian angel that there is in heaven. And To love someone so hard means that you also experience the greatest grief when they're no longer inside. And so that's the hardest part about loving someone so much. I'm just still in the I can't believe it stage, and I think I'll be there for a long while. I've gone through a lot of hard things in my life. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. I cried at her funeral, even though I have a choice for her, because she's in heaven, and she will never have to worry about any of the things that she struggled with here on earth. Like, you guys have no idea how much she struggled, but most of the people never knew in her life what she struggled with, because she put on a face and was so strong, but you would never know. And now she never has to struggle with any of that again. None of her childhood trauma, never has to deal with any of that. So I rejoice for her. I feel bad for grieving, because as a daughter of God, like, I know that this earthly life is only temporary, and I will be reunited with her. But it still hurts so bad. God doesn't promise us a certain amount of days or years here on earth, but I think it's different when, I know it's different when a young person dies, because we think they have a whole life ahead of them. Like, Pip was almost done with her real estate license, and she had so many goals and aspirations, all these things, and that she never got to accomplish. While she did accomplish so much, like, there's so many things she never got to accomplish. And it's just a stark reminder for me, like, this is the first time that A, I've lost someone so close, and then B, that person is the same age as me. Like, it's just a stark reminder of how short life is. And me, if anyone, knows that through my own personal experience, but it's like, whoa, like, this hit me like a ton of bricks. It's just been absolutely awful. The worst thing that I've ever gone through in my life. God doesn't promise us a certain amount of days here on earth, and I have a couple of videos that I've done before she passed that I'll be working on editing soon, but I'm hoping to get back to filming again soon, but it's just been hard. But I know Pip would want me to continue doing what I loved. Like, she is so proud of me. Like, we would always tell each other how proud we are of each other, and she did the same for me, and she was my biggest cheerleader. For a lot of people, like, the funeral and, like, the memorial is closure, but I don't feel any more closure than I did before she died, like, when I found out she died. For allowing me to share a bit of her story, and what an amazing young woman she is, and what an impact she's had, and God gave me the gift of knowing what it's like to have a sister, even for a short time. She's my sister, and our bond will never be broken, even from heaven, because I know she's with me always, and I'm going to keep her so busy in heaven, so busy, and I know that she'll be protecting me and cheering me on. My life will never be the same. I love you, Pip. Forever and ever, sister. Thank you again for giving me a platform to share her story. No one will ever know the bond, truly, just how close we were. And so many people at her funeral came up to me and told me how much she talked about me, and she told everybody she knows about her. Like, I guess even the people she worked with at her real estate, like, someone messaged me on Facebook, and like, I didn't even know these people, and so we were just a part of each other's everyday life and everything that we did. I know she will continue to be for me, and I will speak of her name forever. Just please continue to pray for me and her family. I'll see you guys next time.
It's 4 o'clock.
I think your day is about to get better.
Woo! doing?
Would you like to get up now?
Would you like to get up?
It's a dream. You're in a dream.
No, I'm dreaming right now. I got a dream.